all of the easy bottle dumps have already been found. They've already been dug years ago. And so what we have left is like the obscure ones. So what I'm doing is I'm using a metal detector to go back and forth in some of the drainage ditches. And if you find a spot that's just loaded with iron, just absolutely loaded, that might be a place where people dumped. And where I'm at right now, I don't know what happened, but this place is like, there's a lot of glass here. So you can see there's a hole right here. I just dug that arm deep, and there's some glass and there's some debris all the way down there. So this dump, whatever this is, it's pretty deep, so it's going to take a while because there's a lot of roots down there. Here we have some kind of belt buckle that might say something on it. That's interesting, so I'm going to clean that up. Here we have a milk top. You can't see it on camera, but this has kind of like a purplish tint to it. Now, I was really excited when I found this. Look at this. I was really happy to find this because it looked like an ink bottle, like some type of ink bottle. It looks like it has like little thumb holes so you can hold it. But then when I picked it up and read the bottom, I was disappointed because it says like always choose Virginia Dare flavors. That's disappointing. Virginia Dare was some type of like wine company or something from the 40s, and so this is some kind of like flavor extract from the 40s or something. But that's the problem I have. Whenever I bottle dig, like so much stuff that I find is just 40s, and like stuff from the 40s is okay, but a lot of it just is just recycling, you know. So I thought that if I dug a hole 3 feet deep, I'd hit like 1900s, but it was 40 stuff. But you know what? There's more to the story than that. You can find old stuff in a 1940s dump. Let me show you something I found. You see, back in the 1940s, people that were alive in the 1800s and the early 1900s, they were starting to leave us. And they left behind garages and basements full of old bottles, and their family members at the time just cleaned it out, loaded it up, and just threw it in the ditch like everybody else did in the 40s. So that's the story. That's how you can find old cork top bottles, even from the 1800s, mixed in with 1940s junk. And this right here is furniture polish. It says liquid veneer on it. Yeah, liquid veneer. So that's furniture polish. So this bottle I think is about like 1910. This is wonderful. This is very nice right here. Here we have a cork top embossed bottle, and I can't read it, so that, yeah, I think it's in French. So here I am digging stuff 3 feet down from the 40s, and I find this much older bottle on the surface. So I'm not sure exactly how that works, but there it is. It's French, so I can't read a word of it. So what happened here, you see that, you know, back in the 40s somebody threw this junk here, and this old bottle right here just happened to be in their pile of junk from somewhere, some way, and it was thrown out here. So it is possible to still find good embossed cork top bottles. You just have to go for the obscure spots. So I'm very happy with this, man. It's been a while since I found something like this. The top has seams that go almost halfway up right here, and then they stop. So I think that means something. Is that like blown in a mold, but not machine made? I think something like that. So, but we'll worry about that later. Right now, I'm going to keep digging because it's getting dark underneath all these trees, and so let's go. Insulator, broken insulator. Here's a common find that I just found, and it's new. It's got a metal cap on it. It's really nicely embossed, and there's a story to it. Do you see that guy right there? I'm losing my light. Let me go find some light and we'll do this. This is a common bottle right here. There's a guy on this bottle and he was a millionaire and he went through a bunch of wives and he built a mansion and he lost his mansion and he died broke and nobody came to his funeral, but he was like some kind of millionaire and they called him the Conjola man. Conjola, and this was his medicine, his Conjola. So this is good. There's a story behind this, so we can actually make this into like a metal detecting genealogy video because there's a story behind his life. So we'll clean this up and take it home. This is not rare. It's not really amazing, but because there's millions of them, because the guy was a millionaire back in the 20s and 30s. He was a millionaire, and this may have even come from the 40s, but in any case, we'll investigate his life. So it's a very good find. If you put your own face on your product, you must think pretty highly of yourself. So it's the Conjola man. I was using this thing right here, this piece of metal, to dig for glass or to feel for glass, and then I just broke it, but that's okay. You know what it is? So this right here is a valve hooked to a pipe, and this valve right here is called a stopcock, or it could be called like a petcock. All dumb names, but it's just a little ball valve that you would turn, and this right here would drain the fluid out of like your Model T. Like you could open that up and drain it out, like an aftermarket part, but it didn't have to be from a Model T. It could have been from a number of other things, but these things right here were on Model Ts. I know that. The debris in this ditch goes down about 3 feet, and I'm losing light fast. And tomorrow it's gonna rain, and it's gonna rain for the whole next 2 weeks. So we're gonna dig a little bit more. We'll take Conjola man back home and wash him up, and then tomorrow we'll go to the library and I'll see if I can find some information about his life and who he was and the story. So it'll be raining tomorrow. Before we start talking about Gilbert Mosby, I just want to show you these beautiful bottles again. This one right here is turning purple. Every time I look at it, it gets darker and darker. So it's furniture polish, and it's probably, I'm guessing, about 1910 because it's a machine-made bottle. So very good find. It's hard to find these not broken. Now, what's amazing, and this is truly amazing, this bottle right here is in French. I can't read it. I think it says oil hair for your something. I don't know. I can't read French. If anyone can read French, go ahead and maybe you could comment and tell me exactly what this says. But this is a blown in a mold bottle, which means that these guys right here, look at these guys. These guys, that's what they did. They made these blown in the mold bottles, and so I'm thinking this is like 1890s to 1900 because this style of bottle quickly became popular after 1900. So you never know what you're going to find. It's a beautiful bottle. It's obviously imported, and I'm very, very fortunate to find this. I love it. Gilbert Mosby was the Conjola man. He was a prohibition millionaire, but he didn't start out that way. He started out with low-level odd jobs, a waiter, a factory worker, and that allowed him to make a very important amount of money, $3,000. He took that $3,000 and he started his own home bottling company where he bottled medicines that were made out of herbs and alcohol. Now, his medicines didn't take off and sell big time initially. That wouldn't happen unless everything aligned perfectly, and it did. You see, the idea of making an honest living, selling some type of medicine, that's not what makes you millions. The only way to do it is to find a situation where you can do what every business person wants to do. Sell product when demand is very high and overall production low. And that is exactly what happened to Gilbert Mosby. Because of prohibition, alcohol was now illegal. And so the industry went from mainstream to below ground. And that is where he found his niche. This right here was medicine with a very high alcohol content. And his niche market, his niche market, if you will, was people that didn't want to be associated with a bootlegger. If you wanted to buy booze Well, you could find a bootlegger in a dark alley somewhere and make a connection, or you could go to a speakeasy and you could find alcohol there. But there's a lot of people that did not want to be associated with any of that. And this allowed people to buy alcohol mainstream. Now, in order for that to actually work, somebody had to have gotten some kickbacks. Because in order for this to be approved for sale to the public, somebody must have said, oh yeah, this is fine, the alcohol content's not too bad, you can sell this during Prohibition. That definitely happened. So there was money involved here. Now, Conjola Man here went from rags to riches, and he went through a couple of divorces. He had 4 wives, and all of his wives were nightclub performers in one way or another. He was known to have boats and planes and race cars, and you don't get that type of stuff by selling herbal remedies. You get that stuff by selling alcohol when supply is very low and demand is very high. And so it seems to be that he never really had any true friends. If you look at his pictures of where he went and what he did, he's surrounded with like-minded people, other illicit businessmen, all looking to make a killing off of this Prohibition. And so everyone that was around him was just another version of him, somebody looking to make money by gaming the system. And even his wife, his first wife left him and got his mansion. He had a $500,000 mansion back in the 20s, and she got that, and that was a famous divorce case. And so that's what got people thinking about him and knowing him was how much money he actually had to pay when he got a divorce. But it didn't matter to him because there was always another nightclub entertainer somewhere that would be interested in his money. And so he went from wife to wife to wife until he got to his 4th wife. By that time, Prohibition was over. His millions were gone. He was an old, lonely man, and his wife left him. She left a note, and she disappeared. Well, Gilbert Mosby gets up from taking a nap, walks out into the street, and mysteriously dies. Witnesses say that he just fell and hit his head and he died. But witnesses could also be paid off. And isn't it ironic how his wife just happened to leave and be gone the day of his death? And so at his funeral, about 8 people were there, including George Remus, another famous bootlegger who, got involved in some kind of murder for hire. He killed his wife, he pled insanity, and he's a bootlegger. And bootleggers do what bootleggers do. And so the other people at his funeral were basically gawkers. His wife, any wife, was missing. No one could find his wife. All of his wives were gone. And so it seems like he never had any friends. And what really drives that point home is that he's actually buried in an unmarked grave. A former millionaire buried in an unmarked grave. And so that's the story of Conjola Man. So legend has it that his ghostly image still appears up out of the ground to serve as a reminder for all those to heed his warning, don't engage in illicit business fueled by greed and lust for the transient and fleeting gimmicks of this world. I'll see ya.